space. The final frontier. Throughout history, mankind has always wanted to explore the deep cosmos. Stars, planets, asteroids, and so much more have enveloped the skies for many, many millennia. But out of man's many greatest achievements to reach the outer limits of our known universe, one such invention has taken it very seriously. But what does it mean when you're the biggest satellite television network in Britain and Europe? What does it mean to be sky high?
We've been reaching out to Europe, entertaining every day. From Canterbury to Amsterdam, a special feeling is on its way. A certain magic as the stars come out to shine on me and you. All across the continent, the feelings coming through. We're entertaining you, entertaining you. We're the Sky Channel and we're reaching out to you.
The year was 1977. The M1 motorway had finally finished construction. The Bee Gees were spreading their Saturday Night Fever. Prime Minister James Callaghan was holding a meeting about Zimbabwean independence. And our story begins here, at the 1977 Geneva Radio Conference. Headed and organised by the International Telecommunications Union, or ITU for short, this conference discussed the possibility of satellite broadcasting. In short, each country that was a member of the ITU would be designated 5 different channels to air on satellite, and the UK was one of those countries. Now, the 2 companies that were in charge of British television broadcasting at the time were the BBC and the then owner of ITV, the Independent Broadcasting Authority, or IBA. Now, since there were 2 broadcasters in the UK at the time, it was very hard for the ITU to kind of designate the channels. Would the BBC get 3 and the IBA get 2, or would the IBA get 3 and the BBC get 2? Now, this kept scratching the heads of the ITU for the next 5 years. So, we'll check back on them later. But while all of that was happening in the UK, something big was happening in mainland Europe. It is now 1980.
Ariane was launched last night successfully, but it's still a tense time for the satellite broadcasters. 2 crucial stages remain before the Astra satellite on board is ready to deliver the promised television revolution. The satellite has yet to be correctly positioned, and then test signals will be sent from the Astra headquarters in Luxembourg to see if it works. If all goes according to plan, the Astra footprint will cover most of Western Europe. It'll beam down 16 new channels, including sport, news and film.
Formed around the early 1980s, the Luxembourgish-based satellite company Astra was ready to make waves in the satellite television business. However, one man was ready to take on this new satellite venture, and his name was Brian Haynes. Backed by Guinness Mahon and the Barclays Merchant Bank, they launched Superstation Europe on the Astra 1A satellite in 1980. However, by early 1981, it was clear that the name Superstation Europe would be far too long to recognise, and thus the consortium was renamed. But what was it renamed to? It was renamed to... Yes, in June of 1981, Superstation Europe was renamed Satellite Television Limited. However, a few months later, in October that same year, the European Space Agency, or ESA, allowed satellite TV to begin a few test transmissions on the Orbital Test Satellite, mainly OTS-2.
Yes, it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I mean, we planned it for about 8 months before, as you know, and we never really ever thought it would happen. In a way, we knew it in our heads, but I think in our hearts, because we hadn't any feedback at all, we weren't even sure whether the people could see the pictures, you know, because we were trying out not just a new idea, but a whole new sort of technological system as well.
And thus, for our plucky young satellite television, that test proved successful, and thus they could finally launch as a TV channel, which they did so on the 26th of April, 1982.